Welcome to Baby Boomer Tales. My name's Jim. You can find us at babyboomertales.com. Once you've landed on our webpage, you can find places that you can link to our podcast. Our Boomers General Store, a place where you can link to Amazon to preview and, if you wish, buy our book, Got a Job. Thank you for riding along today. I really do appreciate it.
My name is Had the J Munchie, and I am here today to tell you that Jim messed up last week and called Johann Sebastian Bach. It's Johann. I don't know why he did that. You would think he knows better. This is housekeeping.
Whoa, hold on there, Hadda.
Eek!
What are you doing starting housekeeping without me?
You said I could.
I know.
Then what's the big deal?
But you've got to follow the outline, Hadda.
You think?
I know, the munchies know a lot of stuff that I don't. And you catch all my mistakes, or some of them, anyway.
Duh. Yeah.
Well, I've got you here on housekeeping. There's a second issue besides Johann Sebastian Bach. And that's a couple of weeks ago, I showed a video of the guy surfing like we talked about on my 29 all-time favorite music songs. And I said that he was surfing with his dogs to the song by Creedence Clearwater Revival, Lodi. Well, that wasn't it at all. He was on that surfboard in the ocean with those two dogs, and the music playing was Who'll Stop the Rain by Creedence Clearwater Revival. So, my apologies if I messed you up where you possibly Googled Lodi and couldn't find the guy on the surfboard, or any dogs for that matter. And yes, had the J Munchie. I'll try to do a better job. Hey Homer, what are you doing? Hi Jerry. Hello Sparky. What are you guys up to? Jerry, it looks like you're up to about 6 feet now. Ha 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 ha. Yeah. Well, I'm writing a book. It's a book, and it's about worms. Yeah, it's not that song where they're crawling in and out and all that stuff. No, sirree. This book, I have 3 main characters. I have, you know, Jerry, kind of like you and me and Pop. The 3 main characters. I've got one worm, his name's Wiggles, and one worm, his name's Slim Jim, and one more worm, his name is Noodle. Like, chicken noodle soup, old Noodle. Homer, does your book have a plot or anything? I'm getting to that, Jerry. I got their names. What more do you want? I just started the book about a week ago. Homer, come on. Why don't you get real for a change? Instead of fooling around thinking you're writing a book, why don't you dust some shelves or price that Kleenex that you got 4 cases of? We'll never sell 4 cases of Kleenex in 2 years, Homer. I know, Pop, but I got a good deal. Now, do you think I ought to have a 4th, like, I don't know, maybe Slimy Earl? Ha ha ha. Homer, you're crazy. Our song of the week is Fishin' in the Dark, recorded by the Nitty Gritty Dirt Band and released in 1987. It was on their album Hold On. It reached number 1 on the U.S. Billboard Hot Country charts, and by 2014 it was certified platinum. It's about a late night fishing expedition on a river. A guy and a girl fishing in the dark. You know, it's not really about fishing at all. I want to speak a little bit about books and the authors of books, the books themselves, and book series, where they have a recurring theme through several books. And I want to start out with my favorite book leading up until about maybe 15, 20 years ago, and it's still one of my two favorite books, is The Grapes of Wrath by John Steinbeck. He was a great author, and I have read absolutely everything I can get my hands on by Mr. Steinbeck. I really enjoy his whole take on things, and most of his stuff is set in the Salinas Valley in California. Now, I need to preface something right here. For the last 30 years, the way I read a book is a audio book. I check them out at my library, so I don't even have to go into the library. I do everything online, and they download it right to my phone, and I can listen in my car or in my bed or on my easy chair or whatever. Just listen to that audio book. The only time I've read a book instead of listened to it on audiobook is if I cannot find the book on audiobook, and there's been several that way over the years. I got into reading books by audio when I was driving so very, very much. I would drive at least an hour and a half between work and errands and things every day, and so I listened to a lot of books. Since 2011, I've listened to 292 audiobooks. That's about 22 and a half books a year, just a little over 2 weeks per book. And I've slowed down now because I don't drive enough, and basically, unless I'm running errands or something, when I do listen to the books, I try to listen at least 10 minutes at night before I go to bed. Before I go to sleep, I actually listen in bed. And so it's a great way to do a book. A lot of times the reader is one reason why I listen to the book. So in this list of books I have, you don't hear of a lot of female authors, and the reason behind that is so often a female author, since a lot of the stories are based on a female's point of view, the reader is female, and I'm having a hard time with my hearing anymore picking up on voices that are of a higher pitch instead of the lower pitch. I've lost so much hearing in the higher register. So a female reader is hard for me to really understand everything they say anymore. So that is why I really like female authors, and I have several of them here on my list. So let's go back to John Steinbeck. Besides The Grapes of Wrath, I enjoyed East of Eden and The Travels with Charlie. That book was written later in Steinbeck's life. Him and his dog, Steinbeck bought a pickup truck, heavy-duty pickup truck, put a camper on it, and traveled America, him and his dog, and wrote about it. Very good book, that one. He also wrote of Mice and Men, Tortilla Flat, just so many great books. But The Grapes of Wrath has gone down as one of my very favorite books of all time. Another author I enjoy, John Grisham. Now, everyone thinks that he is like a author of lawyer-type adventures with lawyers. My favorite Grisham books, though, don't include lawyers. One of them is Sully, about a basketball player from somewhere in the Sudan, I do believe, and came to the United States to play college and professional basketball. Another one, Playing for Pizza, a washed-up NFL quarterback ends up in Italy to play football. And the last one of my favorite Grisham books is Skipping Christmas, which Christmas with the Cranks, the movie, is based on. Usually I like the book better than the movie, but Christmas with the Cranks is my favorite Christmas movie. Charles Dickens, A Tale of Two Cities. I read this the first time when I was in high school and it blew me away. Only two books blew me away when I was in high school. Lord of the Flies and A Tale of Two Cities. You'd think those books are opposites, but maybe they have a lot more in common than we would think. Another book by Dickens that I enjoyed very much was Oliver Twist. Another author, Peter Heller. He writes novels, a lot of them are based on the country where I was born and raised in north central Colorado Rocky Mountains. In fact, he names my little hometown in one or two of the books. Very excellent modern author. A few of his books, The Dog Stars, The River, and The Guide. One series of books I really love is the Walk series, or Road series, maybe it's called, by Richard Paul Evans. He also kind of specializes in Christmas-themed books. The Noel series. The Noel Letters is one of those books. Very good. I really like him. He makes you smile. Richard Paul Evans. C.S. Lewis, The Chronicles of Narnia, one of the greatest series books I've ever read. But he is also credited with writing The Pilgrim's Progress and Out of the Silent Planet. That's a 3-book series, and that was my favorite of the 3. An author you may never have heard of, but he is very good. I just discovered him in this last year. John Hart. 3 of his books that I've enjoyed: The King of Lies, Down River, and Last Child. The Last Child is about a girl that went missing and what the family went through, especially her brother. Amazing book. It truly is an amazing book. But there's no hold on these female authors. I like Suzanne Collins' books, The Hunger Games. But a series I like better than The Hunger Games, maybe because it wasn't so brutal, is the Gregor Down Under books. Maybe it's Gregor the Undergrounder. I'm not sure. I thought I wrote it down. It's about a young boy and his adventures underneath the crust of the earth. Very good. It was written years and years before The Hunger Games. I like Jodi Picoult, My Sister's Keeper. Now, they made a movie out of that, but the book is so deep into the psyche of all this. Even though the movie was quite good, I love that book by Jodi Picoult, but I used to read her all the time. I've kind of stopped reading her because it's always a female reader. Nevada Barr wrote a series about a national park ranger, the Anna Pigeon series. Those are good. Those are fun. I kind of liked Anna Pigeon. A woman in a man's world, basically. Some of the men I liked. Mark Twain. My favorite of his, I think, is The Prince and the Pauper. I know, Huck Finn, Tom Sawyer, all that. They're great. How about Dan Brown, that wrote the Da Vinci Code? I know that was unsettling for a lot of people, and I found Dan Brown's books fascinating. Nicholas Sparks, who seems to write love stories. My favorite of his is The Guardian. I do like his books. They take me away from a troubled world, usually. So that's why I like him. Ernest Hemingway. I actually like Ernest Hemingway. I didn't think I would, and I didn't read him for years and years. My favorite, though, is The Old Man and the Sea. Another female author, Laura Hillenbrand. She wrote Seabiscuit. She's written other things, but I really like old Seabiscuit, and they did a good job on the movie. Some of my favorite series, there's 3 of them here I have. My third favorite is by C.J. Box. It's the Joe Pickett series. Joe Pickett is a game warden in Wyoming, and one of the streaming channels tried to do some Joe Pickett shows. They did 1 or 2 seasons, but they try to combine several books with one season. And I don't think that worked as well as it should have after reading so many of his books. There's probably 18 or 20 of the Joe Pickett series, possibly. I don't have how many on my notes, but a lot, and I'm still a work in progress with them. Very, very good. My second favorite, and used to be my favorite for years and years and years, I read them several times, had the hardback. I have read it on audio once. The Hobbit and the Lord of the Rings by J.R.R. Tolkien. The man was amazing how he put that all together. Now, I thought the movies were okay. I did. It's quite an ambitious project, but the books are like no other. I highly recommend The Lord of the Rings. And read The Hobbit first, though. But my favorite, and I've read this series, maybe I'm on my 7th time. I started when she was halfway through the whole series. And every time there was a new book, I'd just start from the beginning and read the series again. The author's name is Jan Karon. She's a lady in her 80s now. She wasn't when she started these. It's the Father Tim or the Mitford series. I would highly recommend starting at the very first one. I believe the name of the book is At Home in Mitford, and go right through the very, very end. My favorite of the whole thing is Home to Holly Springs, but it wouldn't make any sense to you unless you read the books that were written before Home to Holly Springs. The 292 books I told you about since 2011, I got that from my library. It keeps count. When 2011 happened, they got a new system on their library, and it didn't show all the things up to 2011. So from 2010 backwards, I don't have records of the books I read, which is a disservice to me, kind of, because when I'm looking for a book, I make sure I hadn't read it. But the library, it's excellent. I have 3 libraries to choose from, and so I can always find, usually, a downloadable audio book. I really appreciate my library. The library is a wonderful resource. If you don't use the library, I would recommend that you do, if you can get there. But even if you can't get there, 2 of the libraries, I've never been in their library, but I have a library card I got online, and I look at their library online. So you don't have to leave the confines of your happy home to go to the library. Start each day with a grateful heart and always be kind. It's good for your soul. I'll be back next Wednesday. I think I'll go read a book. Peace out. David Baldacci, James Patterson, George R.R. Martin, Joe Posanski, Pearl Buck, Harper Lee, Kristen Hanna, Emily Bronte.